Hey, what's up, universe? It's 6:07 p.m. Central Time on, Wednesday? Yeah, right. Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. So this will be a bit of a longer post, so I appreciate you sticking with me. I'm going to kind of talk about, I am going to talk about the history a little bit of my experience with my family and why I believe that I'm experiencing what I'm experiencing in my relationships recently. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I believe it will resonate with other people and not just me, specifically those who support me or have journeyed with me so far, because the energy that's being expressed towards me is more just generalized in the sense of like even those that would believe what I believe, you know what I mean? So it's not, I don't view it as just me. It's more against what I'm standing for or what my ideals are, what my philosophies are. So if you believe what I believe, this energy would be directed at you too, in a way. So the reason that I believe, to kind of put this in an eggshell type of context, for a long time, for decades, I chose to have a certain identity with my family, because I knew what would happen if I chose to be authentic. And that's part of the reason that all of my stuff has been called the Real Zack Olinger. And it's been part of the reason that over the last couple of years, I've been living more and more authentically, and I've been making my choices the way that I've been choosing to make them, and the reason I've allowed relationships to change the way that they've been changing. Because ever since I was a child, it was very apparent to me that there was a certain way to behave and there was a certain way to not behave. And because of that, there would be positive things that I could experience or extremely, extremely negative things that I could experience. And I learned that the more true to myself that I would be, the more negative the experience would be. And I can guarantee you that my family will disagree with this, most likely, and that's fine. That's their interpretation, and this is my interpretation. This is my truth, and this is something that I spoke to my counselor about, because again, my family has told me, at least my oldest sister has told me, that she doesn't believe that I'm of sound mind and that I need to seek mental help, and so I did that, and it did help. And again, I've mentioned in previous videos, regardless of what I have heard from a mental health professional, it doesn't seem to carry any weight. Now, I would invite my family to do the same, but I'm sure they think they're just perfectly fine. And I would contest that everybody in this world, we could all probably use some therapy, you know what I mean? The world's a little messed up. And that's just my opinion. Now, last year, almost a year ago, to put this a little bit more like context, I learned about highly sensitive people, being an empath, and that this is a real thing, and that it doesn't exist just in humans. There's been over 100 species, tested and identified as having a trait, genetically trait, like being literally wired different, about being highly sensitive or empathic, and what that means, and then how they respond to stimuli and inputs and things like that. So I put that out there because as a child I developed hypervigilance as a way to read my environment and to learn how to fit in. Now, it's been a great asset in a lot of ways, yet it also provided me a lot of stress and anxiety, and it also pretty much kept me from living in a disingenuous way. So for the bulk of my life, I had developed an identity that I used as a shield. Now, all of this was subconscious. I didn't realize I was doing it. and it was through a series of different relationships, not necessarily intimate relationships. Reese was a great reflection on the identity. She shed a lot of light on it through a number of different things, but also just seeing my counselor and going through a couple of other different relationships, there was a lot that I was able to become aware of. Now, I give you all of this because some of you this may resonate with, and some of you may fall on deaf ears, and some of you may even trigger. So, yeah, I just put that out there for the context. Now, the thing that I talked to I spoke with, I had a conversation with ChatGPT regarding, the comments that Lisa had posted on my videos, because given my history with my family, I'm able to read between the lines, and again, I didn't want to just go with like a first interpretation, although being empathic or highly sensitive, and I feel like our family is pretty intuitive, like all of us kind of have a good read about us, in my family. So, I mean, I feel like we all have that. There was definitely some things in between the lines, so to speak, and her comments to me were indicative or emblematic of the energy that I'm saying no to, because it's passive aggressive, it's disingenuous, and it's toxic. It's toxic. It's venomous. It's poisonous. And I say that because I've lived in that environment. I know what it feels like, and I know how it feels right now to receive it. And I also know what it's like to receive it and have learned to navigate around it, to see it for what it is, and to not blame them for it, like I'm not blaming them for expressing themselves that way or feeling what they're feeling, because this is a learned trait. And it's generational. Like I've said in previous videos, like I don't blame my mom, and if I don't blame my mom, I can't blame my sisters, and I can't blame my grandma, because I remember my great-grandma, and as a child, to me, my great-grandma was extremely dark. Like she had just horrible energy around her. She was a scary woman to me. And I don't even blame my great-grandma. These things have been passed down. These are learned behaviors, learned traits, and I'm not gonna hold them accountable for that, in the sense that they're right or wrong. I'm not going to attack them or seek any type of retribution, because that would only be embracing the same type of energy. So me living authentically and making the choices that I've made, honestly, I feel is a way to bring this to light to my family, to showcase to them. And I mean, this could all be, again, part of the divine design. I don't know, but it's definitely something that I can use as it's a byproduct. It's a byproduct of my truth, or me making the choices that I'm making, that I can use our interactions as examples. When I first tried to just have my family talk about this, I just wanted to say, hey, can we just have a conversation around, I'm not feeling safe, living in a way that feels authentic to me. And just bringing that up triggered my family. In one of the text messages that my oldest sister sent to me, I'm going to paraphrase this, but it was a couple of years ago now, and it was on like New Year's Eve, and she said something like, well, if you don't feel safe around us, then you can just fuck off. And fuck off was like in all capital letters. And I'm like, that right there is a prime example of the energy that I'm talking about. And then Lisa's comments on my Instagram post with the passive-aggressive type of tonality is another example of what I'm talking about. And I'm just like, can we talk about this? But that doesn't seem to be something that can be done. And I don't know if any of you that have followed me and that that do support me and like my content, if that resonates with you, if you've experienced this kind of behavior within your own family or within your own intimate familial relationships, because that is definitely the reason that I'm a proponent of everybody's sovereignty, everybody's own individual path, and it's the reason that I am a champion of, everybody following their truth, and that's exactly why I wouldn't hold it against, and why I'm not holding it against, Michelle or Lisa or my mom or my grandma or great-grandma or anybody else that has an opinion about anything, because that is going to be their truth, and it's a reflection of their own journey and their own learned behaviors and what they feel is right and genuine for them. And so I guess what I'm getting at here is that these I have these attacks, because basically when Michelle showed up out of nowhere and expressed to me her opinion, and then Lisa's comments on my posts, they feel to me like attacks, passive-aggressive by Lisa, indirect, where Michelle is much more direct. They're not going to change my trajectory, and they are just examples of the things that I would say are, in my opinion and from my experience, they're detrimental, you know what I mean? And this is why I spoke to Odin earlier today, about some of this, and I was like, this is, why I tell you guys that I will always support whatever it is you choose, even if I happen to disagree with it. How I choose to disagree with them is going to be remarkably different, you know what I mean? And it's not because I don't care, it's because it's in fact completely opposite. It's because I do care. I would rather them feel that they are free to choose, and that I'm not going to, how do I want to say, ridicule them for their choices, even if I disagree with them. And because ridicule is definitely a tool in the toolbox within this type of, within the environment that I found myself in growing up. And I've seen it before within my family, towards other family members, when other ideas or other thoughts or other opinions that are contrary to the status quo have been expressed, ridicule and shame, or basically demeaning commentary, nothing that's supportive, we'll put it that way. It's not supportive, has been expressed. I've witnessed this. I have examples in my head, and I won't express those, but I've witnessed it. And the reason, again, I'm doing this video is because for those of you out there that, if this resonates with you, this is exactly why I do what I do and why I live the way that I live. And it's not because I'm insensitive. It's not because I don't care about my children. It's quite the opposite. And I believe that my children are keenly aware of that. And I'm able to use these types of examples to basically inoculate my children against the toxicity of this, because I'll be damned if my children will experience that from my family. Now, when I was younger, when I was first married to Angela and my children were much younger, I honestly felt like it would be Angela's dad that I would be having to protect them from more than anything, to tell you the truth. Now, I don't believe that my family will express this type of venom towards my children. I feel like I'm probably a special case because I'm the son and the brother, and I'm an adult. And I can't necessarily even tell you why I would be singled out, and why almost everybody else seems to get a pass in a way. Although, like I said, there is one other male individual in the family where I've seen this type of response, unsupportive response to ideas or opinions. But I know it's meandering. I'm just thinking about other people and their relationships. I know for sure that there's a woman that follows me who this probably resonates with. And I just believe that we're living in a time where where the individual, where this type of authenticity is being supported. And I think that we're going through a healing phase as a species. And I think that we're allowing ourselves to be aware of things to heal generational trauma. And so I just put this out there for those of you that this does resonate with, and for those of you that it doesn't resonate with, that's okay. Nobody's asking you to watch this video. Nobody's asking you to comment on the video. You can come and go as you please. So I'm going to go through this conversation real quick with ChatGPT, because I just want to use it as I don't know, because it rings true to me, and so I'm going to share it with you. It's going to be a little long, so this video is already a little long, so I appreciate you sticking with me. So here we go. I said, hello, below is a comment on an Instagram post. Can you please tell me how you would interpret this comment? Now, I started with Lisa's most recent comment, not her first comment, her most recent one. And so I said, below is a comment on an Instagram post. Can you please tell me how you would interpret this comment? And it goes, hey little bro, since you saw I watched, I'll go ahead and provide some clarity on my comment. I'm not judging you or your decisions. You are living your best life and I'm happy for you. Making new friends too. Keep on keeping on. If I offered to help, that would insinuate that you needed help, or that you need help, but you got things figured out. Proud of you. And ChatGPT said, the comment appears to be positive and supportive. From the commenter to the Instagram post's author, who is referred to as Little Bro. Here's the breakdown of key points within the comment. There's acknowledgement. The commenter starts off by addressing the Instagram post author with a friendly greeting, hey little bro. Clarification. The commenter mentions that they noticed that the authors saw their previous comment and that they wanted to clarify their intentions with their comment. Supportive tone. The comment is filled with positivity and support. The commenter reassures the author that they are not judging them or their decisions. Instead, they express happiness for the author and their current life situation, emphasizing the author is living their best life. Encouragement. The commenter applauds the author for making new friends and encourages them to keep on keeping on. This phrase is a way of expressing support and encouragement for the author's ongoing journey. Independence. The commenter states that they didn't offer help because doing so might imply that the author needs help. They express confidence in the author's ability to handle their own affairs, saying, "You got things figured out." Pride. The comment concludes with a note of pride, indicating the commenter is proud of the author. Overall, the comment conveys a supportive and non-judgmental message, emphasizing the author's independence and expressing happiness for their current life choices and achievements. I said, "Thank you." I said, "What context could this comment be interpreted as being passive-aggressive?" And ChatGPT said, "While the initial interpretation of the comment is positive and supportive, it's essential to consider the context in which it is written and the relationship between the commenter, hey little bro, and the Instagram post's author. In certain situations or contexts, the same words could be interpreted as passive-aggressive or sarcastic. Here's how it could be perceived as passive-aggressive in some situations. 1. History of conflict. If there is a history of conflict or tension between the commenter and the author, the overly positive tone and reassurances may come across as insincere, with the commenter using this approach to mask their true feelings. 2. Sarcasm. If the commenter and author have a sarcastic or ironic communication style, the comment could be interpreted as a subtle way of implying the opposite of what is being said. For example, saying, "You're living your best life" could be sarcastic if the author's life appears to be challenging or unfulfilling. 3. Passive-aggressive phrasing. Certain phrases within the comment, such as, "I'll go ahead and provide some clarity on my comment," might be seen as passive-aggressive because they imply that the author may have misinterpreted the previous comment or that there was something unclear or negative in the previous comment. 4. Emphasis on independence. The comment's repeated emphasis on the author having things quote-unquote figured out and not needing any help could be seen as an attempt to belittle the author's choices or imply that the author is being overly self-reliant to a fault. In most cases, interpreting the comment as passive-aggressive would depend on the specific dynamics of the relationship between the commenter and author, as well as the overall context in which it was posted. In a genuinely supportive and positive relationship, the comment is likely to be taken at face value, but in a strained or negative context, it could be perceived differently. I said, "Thank you." Below is the previous comment that the commenter is referring to when they say that they are clarifying their previous comment. And this is Lisa's original comment. "Glad to see you're living the life that you've chosen for yourself," smiley face. "Life is all about choices, and you seem very secure in all the choices you have made. Continue to live, quote-unquote, your truth, little bro," and then the smiley face with the sunglasses. And ChatGPT said, "Given the context of the previous comment, it appears that both comments are genuinely positive and supportive in nature. The previous comment commends the author for living their chosen life with confidence and encourages them to continue doing so. It uses smiley emojicons, such as the smiley face and the sunglasses, which typically indicate a friendly and positive tone. The phrase, 'live your truth,' implies that the author is living authentically and making choices that align with their personal values and beliefs. Considering the content and tone of both comments, they do not appear to be passive-aggressive or insincere. Instead, they seem to genuinely express support and encouragement for the author's life choices and the way they are living their life." I said, "Thank you." I said, "Trust me when I say that the relationship between the author of the content and the commenter is strained to the point where the relationship will fall apart." And ChatGPT said, Thank you for providing the additional context. Given that the relationship between the author of the content and the commenter is strained and nearing a point of falling apart, it's not uncommon for individuals in such situations to employ passive-aggressive communication. In this context, the second comment could indeed be interpreted as passive-aggressive, even though it initially appears positive. The overly positive and supportive tone of the second comment, along with the emphasis on the author's independence and not needing help, may be a way of masking underlying resentment or sarcasm. It can be seen as a form of insincerity, where the commenter is concealing their true feelings or intentions. In strained relationships, what is said or written may not always align with the underlying emotions, and individuals use passive-aggressive communication to convey negative sentiments in a less direct manner. In such cases, it's important to be aware of the broader relationship context to fully understand the intentions behind the comments. I said, "Thank you." Given that understanding, how would you interpret the first comment, this one? And I reposted the first comment, the one that where she was like, glad to see you living your life, that you've chosen for yourself. Life, it's all about choices, and you seem to be very secure in all of the choices you have made. Continue living your truth, little bro. And ChatGPT replies, in light of the strained relationship between the author of the content and the commenter, the first comment can be interpreted differently. It appears positive on the surface, but considering the context, it could be perceived as passive-aggressive or insincere. Here's an alternative interpretation. 1. Superficial positivity. The comment seems positive on the surface with smiley emojicons and words of encouragement. However, in a strained relationship, this positivity might be superficial or insincere. 2. Emphasis on your truth. The use of the quotations around your and the phrase live your truth might be seen as a subtle way of implying that the author's truth or life choices are not genuine or valid. Acknowledgement of choices. While the comment acknowledges the author's choices, the emphasis on the author being quote-unquote very secure in all the choices could be interpreted as a backhanded compliment, suggesting that the author's choices are not wise or well thought out. Number 4, sarcasm. The use of the smiley emojicons, particularly the sunglasses emojicon, may be seen as a way to mask sarcasm or lack of genuine support. In strained relationships, people may use passive-aggressive language or insincere compliments to convey their true feelings without being confrontational. In this case, the first comment, while appearing positive, might carry undertones of insincerity or criticism. I said thank you. If this kind of energy were present during the entirety of the relationship, meaning that the author of the content and their choices and the commenter's response to those choices, would it be reasonable that the author of the content developed hypervigilant tendencies along with an unauthentic identity to cope and live within this relationship? ChatGPT said, yes, it's entirely reasonable to suggest that in a relationship characterized by strained interaction, passive-aggressive communication, and unsupportive or insincere tone, the author of the content may have developed hypervigilant tendencies and an inauthentic identity as a coping mechanism. Here's how this could happen. 1. Hypervigilance. In a challenging relationship where communication is strained, individuals often become hypervigilant. They may constantly monitor the other person's words and actions, trying to anticipate hidden meanings or potential criticisms. This hypervigilance can be mentally and emotionally exhausting. 2. Inauthentic identity. To navigate such a relationship, individuals might start to present an inauthentic or false version of themselves. They may hide their true thoughts and feelings to avoid confrontation or criticism, and they may modify their behavior to fit the other person's expectations. 3. Defense mechanism. People in strained relationships may develop defense mechanisms to protect themselves emotionally. They might become emotionally distant or use humor, sarcasm, or passive-aggressive tactics as a shield against potential emotional harm. 4. Impact on well-being. Living in such an environment can have negative effects on one's self-esteem, mental health, and overall well-being. It can lead to stress, anxiety, and a feeling of constantly walking on eggshells. In situations where this energy in a relationship is consistently negative and strained, individuals often adapt in ways that can be detrimental to their mental and emotional health. Coping mechanisms like hypervigilance and presenting an inauthentic identity are common responses to these challenging circumstances. It's important for individuals in such relationships to seek support, whether through therapy, counseling, or reevaluating the relationship itself for their own well-being. Now again, this is not an attack on my sister, either one of them, or my mom, because again, I feel like all of them, my sisters and my mom, and even my grandma, right, experience this. This is a learned behavior, and it's generational. And so I believe that we've all experienced this in some way. I can almost guarantee you that my mom has stories about feeling like she was probably walking on eggshells around my grandma. I feel like my mom's told me some stories about that. So it would only make sense to me that this has gotten passed down, right? It's what was learned. It's what was taught. What was modeled for her. And so I'm not going to hold her this isn't a begrudging of my mom. It's not an attack on my mom. And it's not classifying anybody or anything as good or bad. It's just, can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? is the first thing in any type of problem resolution is to acknowledge that there is a problem. You know, but like even just bringing up that there is a potential problem at all is a huge trigger within my family. And I feel like those that may watch this video can probably resonate with that. That this is not just with my own family. You know, I feel like there's a generation of us out there that have experienced this, where, you know, even raising the idea that there's a problem could be triggering. And I just believe, as I said earlier in this video, that we are entering and have been in a period of time globally, or as a species, where there's a section of the population of the human species that's saying no to that. We're saying no to that. And I don't care about titles. I don't care about people being my mom or my sisters. I don't care about that, because it's about how we treat each other as individuals, how we treat each other as other human beings, which is why in my previous video I said, when, you know, that other guy who owes me no loyalties, who doesn't know me, who just is offering me food, which he did again last night, it's just, you know, people helping people, and it doesn't matter, no titles, no blood relationships, it doesn't matter, because none of that matters, because it's all about how are we treating each other as humans, how are we treating other human beings, because that's the fundamental piece. You know, titles don't matter, you know, and that's what I've told my kids for a super, super long time, for a very long time. I said, just because I'm your dad doesn't mean I'm right. And it's going to be up to you to tell me when I'm doing something that doesn't align with you, that doesn't feel right to you. You're going to have to define what your boundaries are and tell me what that is. And I will tell you that my youngest son, Milo, has taken me up on that. I'm very proud of him for that, very proud of him. And I have empowered my children through my choices, and I've modeled for my children through my choices the things that I talk about, you know, and I am proud of being an example for my children. So given that how my life may look, how it looks, like, is rather immaterial, because what I am here to do is to teach. And it is through example that I teach best. Now, I have been an example of what not to do, but I've also been a great example of what to do. And I'm willing, absolutely, to go ahead and shoulder the burden of being the example, because it is my choice. You know, I can't even classify it as a burden, because it is my choice. It is a consequence of my choice, but I'm not here to complain about that. So I'm not even going to really call it a burden. It's just I'm willing to go ahead and move through those experiences to navigate my life, so that I can have the experiences to teach from. Now, what's the point ultimately? I would love to think that I could have a conversation that as a family we could heal from this, that we could literally start to just talk about this without it being aggressive, because I'm not available for that, because that's the energy that I'm saying no to, straight out, flat out. I'm unavailable for that, because I don't hold that energy towards my family. I don't. It's the exact energy, like, I've taken that energy into other relationships. I have hurt people with this energy. I've hurt people with this passive-aggressive stuff. I've hurt people with my aggression. I've hurt my own family with it. You know, if Lisa were to think back, I have a specific example of when I used my own venom towards Lisa and she didn't much appreciate it. You know, I've hurt my own family with it. But again, it's learned behavior, and I've done a lot of work to reconcile this and to neutralize it, because it is a toxicity that doesn't have a place in my life. It doesn't have a place in my life, and so I've worked to remove it. And so if there's no way to get around that, if there's no way to neutralize that within our relationship as a family, and if they want to continue to choose to embody that, that's fine. My relationship with them will be concluded, though. And as far as my own children go, I'm totally fine with my children having a relationship with my family. They'll just have their eyes wide open. They'll know that this exists. I don't believe that my children will experience what I experienced. They will just know, though, that they'll have the understanding of why things exist the way that they exist, why my relationship with my family is the way that it is. And so, again, at the end of the day, this is literally just about people being able to be who they are in a safe and supportive and loving way, because how do we treat and love other human beings? You know, that's just all it comes down to. And since there's billions of us on the planet, there's going to be a lot of us that don't agree with a lot of the other people. And so what? You know, it's so what? Because that's all inside of us. I mean, me choosing to not carry that energy towards the experiences that I've had, that's inside of me. That's up to me to choose how I respond to their response to me, you know, their interactions with me, and about boundaries, and it's all the other healthy things that any mental health person will tell you around relationships. But again, to me, it just comes down to allowing all individuals, all people, to live their life according to their truth, and to honor that sovereignty, and to allow things to just be. And I personally do not support a derogation of that, or attacks on that, or like degrading people for living an authentic life, which is the reason why I'm not attacking my family. You know, like, if that's their truth, that's their truth. And, you know, it's not, in a perfect world, it's not the kind of relationship that I would like to have with my family. It's not the kind of experience I would like to have with my family. Yet, I'm sure that they would say the exact same thing with my choices as well. So, you know, again, there's going to be times where people agree and they don't. And what do you do with that? Well, that's where boundaries come in. So, you know, and it's not because I don't love them, and it's not because they don't love me. You know? Anyway, I know this has been a long video, and it's been kind of meandering in a way. I really appreciate you sticking with me. Thanks for listening. And that's what I got. That's what I got. And that's why this is called the Real Zack Olinger, is because for the longest time I lived inauthentically and disingenuously. And I do want to end it on this, because I have told a number of my friends that if I were to die, you know, tomorrow or today, and my friends were to come to my funeral, and my family were to come to my funeral, and they were to talk to each other about me, they would both look at each other and be like, who are you talking about? For the longest time, prior to the last couple of years, I thought about this. I thought about how my family didn't know who I really was. They didn't know who I really, really was. And there was some pain around that, because I didn't feel like they were honestly interested, and nor did I feel like they would honestly be accepted. And that my friends, which is why I said in a number of videos ago that, you know, my soul family, you know, they're the ones that saw me, and that they understood me, and that they accepted me, is because I didn't have to have that identity. I didn't have to have a false identity around those people. They saw me for who I was safe to be, who I really am. And I believe that there's other viewers of this video that will resonate with that. Within certain relationships, there's an identity that's been created to create an element of safety, even if it's disingenuous. So anyway, I am a champion of removing all of that and allowing all of us to be safe, and allowing all of us to be free, and allowing all of us to be authentic. I think the world deserves that, and I think we all deserve that as a species and as individuals. So that's what I'm about, and that's why I do what I do, and that's the cause of my choices. That's the underlying philosophy under everything, and that's why this is the Real Zack Olinger. Alright, I'm going to wrap it up because it's been a long time. I really appreciate you sticking with me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of my journey. Thank you for all of your love and your support and your grace, your generosity. Thank you for being here. I love you guys. Bye.